Are you guys seeing the screen, Susan?
Yes.
Yep.
Great, thank you. All right, well, thanks for joining us tonight. So we'd like to share some ways to get started with working with us as first-year students. So this is our agenda for this evening. We'll be reviewing meeting with advisors at the Career Center, like myself, Susan, and Alan, attending career programs to gain key skills, how to start building your professional application materials, learning about alumni career paths, researching internships and other opportunities, and exploring grants, residencies, and entrepreneurial opportunities. So to begin with, we're starting with our website. Our website was overhauled a couple of years ago now. It seems like it was only yesterday. And we did a reauthoring of our site to take a lot of the things that are most frequently covered in our career advising sessions. And we wanted to reorganize it and make it as accessible as possible for all of you. So what you'll notice if you come in for a career advising appointment is that you see an awful lot of this website because we can use it as a visual guide for everything that you need to know. So this is a great resource for you, whether you're trying to get prepared for your career or a meeting with us. It's a great reference for following up after an advising session or doing some research on your own if you're trying to learn something about your career preparation. We're very proud of this site and we hope that you get a lot out of it. So our key offering is really talking it through with career advisors. It's where we start tonight because it's one of the things that it's our favorite part, which is working with you one-on-one and getting to know you and what your goals are and your aspirations and giving you ideas about things that you can consider with different career paths that you might be considering. So this is really the best way to get a personalized and custom approach and strategy for what you're trying to accomplish. And while we have a photo here of Karen meeting with a student in front of our awesome career center, which we can hardly wait to get back into that building. So for the time being, we're offering virtual meetings, of course, and we've been really encouraged that the activity has maintained and been really strong with students. And we are able to get so much done as we were in person through a Zoom meeting or something of that sort. So definitely good to keep in mind. So we want to help you. And these are some of the advisors that we have available. We've got Kevin Jankowski, our director, at the top, and the rest of our team here. Let's see, we have some of our common topics. So it could be anything from helping you consider what the career outcomes are for different majors, coupled with like what your interests and passions are, or discussing what your potential career paths are, preparing and searching for internships, like how do you find them and where do you look online, seeking artist opportunities if you're a fine artist, crafting your application materials, whether it be an artist statement or a CV or a resume or your portfolio or demo reel, getting ready for an interview and practicing interviews, and networking, which is engaging with professionals that are out in the world that have advice and wisdom for you and that may also be able to help you find your next opportunity. Meeting with an advisor, we have a couple of different ways that I've alluded to. We've got appointments that are either a half hour or an hour in duration that you can book via Zoom or phone. We do quite a lot of appointments each year, which is wonderful. It's the best part of the job is meeting with all of you. And then we've got drop-in advising hours, which is like instead of scheduling an appointment where you can only schedule it has to be at least 24 hours in advance. Sometimes you may have a quick topic that you just need help with. And so we're offering Zoom drop-in hours Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 1 and Tuesday and Thursdays from 11 to 1. And to get to this page, You can learn all about your options for meeting with us at our website, careercenter.risd.edu/meet-us. So our career programs and workshops, here's an overview of some of the things that we cover. And again, this is an in-person event, which goes well, but now, and as evidenced tonight with all of you joining with us tonight, we're finding that the Zoom webinar is also an effective method for reaching you and helping. So for developing your career skills, we offer programs across critical career development areas. There we go. And that includes resume building, portfolio and reel development, networking and professional relationships, freelancing if you want to go it on your own and be an independent professional, seeking artist residencies, and seeking grant opportunities. Those are just some of the major topics that we cover in some of our career programs. And we also send out Career Center announcements, which happens to be one of the prime responsibilities of Alan Tracy, who we have with us tonight. He does an amazing job with the emails that come up. And I'm sure you may have noticed that we have many emails that are coming your way with announcements about anything relating to artist opportunities, whether they be design or fine art opportunities, so many things coming your way, and events that are coming up. So another aspect of your preparation is building your application materials and starting to create your resume, your cover letter, and your portfolio. And so you can see some examples and get advice for creating materials through resumes, cover letters, portfolios, artist statements, and interviews. All of these things are available in the career prep section of our website. So to get there, and right now we're showing the mobile version of our website. So our website works really well on mobile and on desktop. So you can go to this career prep section, and we've got resume and CV information. So under career prep, every topic that you'd find under there has a really good introduction that starts with the basics and then goes into things that are more advanced. And so we have resume examples that you can check out. These examples go across design and fine arts with differing layouts and structures and a range of academic and experience levels. So our guide looks like this. This is the cover of the Resume and Career Essentials booklet. And this would be one of the example resumes. So here we have James Yamamoto, and this is an experienced designer. As we can see, he's got plenty of creative experience in here and even additional experience with some work on campus. And we can see his awards and certificates. So this is a pretty established resume for a more senior level student. And we also have his mark at the top, which looks really nice. So he's taken some steps to improve the visual appearance of his resume. And then another look and feel would be like Xavier Williams here, which is also an experienced designer who's interested in gaming. And you can see that while we do have some nice looking designs at the top, generally one of the consistent elements is that we're seeing a refined and simple, tasteful typeface that's used, that's really legible, and using a color that's as an accent color can give it some polish without harming the legibility in any way. You can also find cover letter examples. So in this case, and many times cover letters may come in the form of an email. And so here we've got like a proper cover letter for you to check out. And this will help you get a sense of how the level of detail that you go into with a cover letter, and also the types of things that you can talk about. And another example of a formal cover letter that's formatted as a letter. You might be sending this either as a printed document or most popularly as a digital document like a PDF. So the next section is for portfolios and demo reels. So we can start exploring how to show your work and build an online presence. And you'd want to learn the difference between portfolios and demo reels, advice for selecting work to show and curation, and viewing portfolios of RISD artists and designers. So once again, in our career prep section, we have a section on portfolio and reel. And we start with the basics about an explanation of what it is. And then we can look at some examples such as Marley Gallardo's. That amazing introductory illustration was done by her for the admissions team, and you can see it halfway down here. She's from the illustration department, has been doing really well out in the world. And it's wonderful to be able to see examples of these portfolios for your own consideration and your own portfolio development. I'd also like to mention that tomorrow evening, before I leave the portfolio and demo reel topic, we will be hosting another event on portfolio and reel development. And that will also be taking place at 7 o'clock tomorrow evening, if you're interested. So we also have a section on our website for career tutorials. And this enables you to access on-demand video tutorials featuring our advisors. So it has guided walkthroughs on key topics. You can watch them at your own time and your own pace. And you can seek more personalized guidance if needed by booking an appointment with us. So once again, under career prep, you can go to the career tutorials link. We have a number of different topics that you can review, such as resumes and cover letters here. A lot of this is derived from our in-person events, so you get to have that kind of experience, even though you're watching a recording. And the portfolios and demo reel sections are actually available. We will be adding more to it tomorrow night, but you can get some of the basics through these at your own pace career tutorials. So we've got your preparations. Let's take a step back and consider the big picture here. We've got your preparations. So we've talked about how we can help you through advising appointments. We've showed you some of the key aspects of our website and those resources. We've touched on some of the things that you'd need to create when you start getting ready for your career. So that would include resumes, artist statements, portfolios, demo reels, things of that nature. Another amazing resource that we have available isn't something that we have necessarily as the Career Center, but your fellow alumni are out in the world and they are an amazing resource. One of the best ways to get inspiration and to see what people that you aspire to be, people that you aspire to, you can see how they've done what they've done. And we've got an amazing alumni network that is engaged with the school and with all of you. So it's a great opportunity for you. So this is one of the great assets to you for career preparation. But I thought that it might be fun to take a quick poll. So the question is, I'd like you to think about who your favorite superhero is. And I'm going to be showing you 8 different superheroes. And when I'm done showing all 8, each time that I show a superhero, you can raise your hand in the participating, you can raise your hand as a participant and we'll see who your favorite superhero is. Okay, so is everybody ready? Here we go. We've got Nicole Miller, who's from the apparel department. Kara Walker from painting. Dale Chihuly from the ceramics department. Did not know he graduated from ceramics, with all the glasswork he does. Amazing. Jenny Holzer from painting. Here's 4 more. Marley Gallardo. Joe Gebbia. I think he works at Airbnb, right? Yalitza Jean Charles from the illustration department, and Shepard Ferry. You know, I wanted to start with this as we dive into alumni, because it's just a great inspiration for the amazing things and the amazing people that come out of the school, and what an amazing resource that's available to you as we look for support out in the world. So we can explore the careers of our RISD alumni for support, for tools, pathways related to your interests and skills. And there are some tools that are particularly good for this. We have LinkedIn, which is a networking tool. It's like an amazing directory that enables you to find many, many people that are out in the professional world. The RISD network, which is a relatively new network that was launched a little over a year ago from the alumni relations team. And then RISD Media Stories on Alumni, which is authored and produced by our own RISD Media team. So to start with, we have a profile here for Scott, one of our advisors, Scott Malloy. And here we're seeing his LinkedIn profile. It's the largest online networking platform in the world. And it enables you to research creative industries and paths, to learn about companies and studios that you're interested in, and to connect with alumni that excite you. And you know, LinkedIn, a lot of times I characterize it as it's like going to a virtual conference or a virtual show or exhibit. When you go to an event like that, you're thinking that you want to meet some new people that have the same shared interests. And so LinkedIn is the digital equivalent to that. It's a great way to find people that are working at the places that you want to work, or that are independent professionals or artists, and to reach out to them. And we've got a whole page dedicated to networking on our site. And so it's our Career Center URL/networking. To explore alumni, you can learn about common alumni career paths via the Rhode Island School of Design Alumni Group. This will help you to see popular locations for alumni, popular companies and organizations where alumni are working. You can identify the most common industries and professional areas that alumni are working in, and you can search by major and location to dig deeper. So here we've got like some of the members that are in our Rhode Island School of Design alumni group. And additionally, you can look at the Rhode Island School of Design alumni on LinkedIn without even looking at the group. And so when you're looking at alumni, and there's, at this point, I think there's probably almost 30,000 alumni out in the world that have graduated from RISD. It's hard to keep track because the years keep flying by, but you're able to look at your alumni and use some of these infographics to see where some of the popular places are where you can find them. So like where they live or where they work, and what they're doing industry-wise or what they studied. So amazing insights. Yes, so it is 29,275 alumni are on LinkedIn. That is fantastic. And so the RISD Network. The RISD Network is an online platform that helps foster connections between RISD students and alumni around the world. So it enables you to engage in career-related conversations, to seek knowledge and advice, to explore new career paths. And the way to get to this network is using this URL, risdnetwork.risd.edu. The RISD network, if I'm not mistaken, I know that when it launched, it had close to 2,000 alumni that were in the network and available. And I know that that number has grown. So it's an amazing resource. So here's some previews of what is in store for you if you join the RISD network. So you can explore the community here so you can see the people that are in the network. You can search for them by industry expertise. So here we're selecting animation. And you can find notable alumni such as Christian Evans here, who worked on SpongeBob SquarePants. And you can try to message him. So this is phenomenal, knowing that this is just for RISD people. It's a great tool to leverage the power of your fellow alumni on a dedicated and focused tool. It's like a protected environment of sorts. And if you're able to connect with some of these people, you could have, you may be fortunate to have like a mentor relationship. And having a mentorship could be something as simple as talking to someone once per year about what your ideas are for your career and what you've been working on, and getting some professional advice from people that care. So it's an amazing resource. And then we have our stories that are produced by RISD Media. And it features our RISD alumni doing amazing things with our education. It's a great way to gain inspiration and to discover places that you may want to reach out to for an internship. The URL for this content is through the school URL, risd.edu/news/alumni-stories. So here's one of the topics that came through. It was the RISD alums make 30 under 30 list. That was unexpected. Sorry, guys. One moment. Sometimes I forget that the hyperlinks work in Google Slides. Okay. I will not click on that image. As I was saying, we have this amazing story about Yulitsa, and she has these Healthy Roots dolls, and they're incredible, and she has an amazing story. And I'm so glad to see her featured in these news articles, and I find it inspirational, and I'm sure many RISD students do. True success story. And there's many of these types of stories to learn from. So we've talked about alumni. It's clear that our alumni represent an amazing opportunity for everyone. They are the people that are out in the world that have insights. They may be having jobs that are available that they could use an intern for. They may have opinions about the decisions that you're making with your career. They are just an amazing resource. And then there's the other side of finding internships and jobs, which is learning about the platforms that may be available to you. So we have RISD Artworks. So all of you registered for this event tonight through Artworks. So I know that you're somewhat familiar with the platform. RISD Artworks does a lot of things. Not only can you register for an event, we also have job boards and internships that are available, and fine art opportunities, and calls for work, and grant applications and residencies. So many different things that are available. And it's a modern, excellent, up-to-date platform that enables you to set automatic email alerts. So this way you don't have to do the busy work of going back to the job site to research for opportunities. You can set it and forget it and read the emails as they come in. And you can explore the organizations that are deliberately coming out of their way to seek RISD talent. It's an exciting opportunity. So on our website, it's our Career Center website /artworks to get more information about Artworks. And so here we're demonstrating, you can click the link on Artworks under Internships and Jobs. And in our system, we have OCI, which it took us a minute to get used to that term. This is a common term. It refers to on-campus interviews and job listings. So sometimes companies will come and do an on-campus interview, but for everything else, there are job listings. And job listings also includes things like internships and calls for work, anything that you would find in an art and design school like ours. And when you're looking at OCI and job listings, it's easy to search by employer or the job title or by keyword. And so here we can select the type of job using a filter. So you can apply all different kinds of filters. And so we're selecting the type of job here as an internship. And then you can just check out the internships that are available. And applying to an internship is really easy. You know, you can open up the internship and then this action button at the top will allow you to apply. And you can learn all about the position just as you would on any other job board. So the things that they're looking for, the experience and skills to get a good sense of like how you fit into this position. The other way to use Artworks, because, you know, with some job boards, all that you're looking at are the jobs. But because this is our main resource, the Artworks is our main resource for so many things, it just so happens that if an employer posts opportunities or they come to our event or something, we've got them in our directory and they're accessible to you. So do consider that we've got a lot of RISD friendly employers, friendly in the sense that they've engaged with us in a productive way and they are available to you. So you can search them by name, location, or industry. You can find contacts for outreach. You can learn about the art and design world by reaching out to these different companies. And so here, this is another look at Artworks. When you're looking at the employer directory, you can search by company name. So here we've found the company 2x4, which is a marketing and branding and graphic design studio. And we can look at the current contacts that work at 2x4. This is incredible. And notice, we see that they've decided they will share their email address. So doing something like writing to someone through an email, that's usually pretty difficult to come by in most situations. And when if you're not a RISD student, this is very difficult to come by. So this is an amazing opportunity. And then, of course, you can go to the 2x4 website to learn more about them before you reach out to them. So I thought it might be interesting for us to go through some of the organizations that are hiring for RISD. And there are many, but why not look at some of the, this is just a small sampling of those companies. So we have Jessica Walsh, who's an alum, and she has her company that is interested in RISD talent. The Cartoon Network Studios. Misha Khan, amazing furniture designer, really artful work. Carnegie. Safdie Architects. Eckhouse Latta. Department of Motion Pictures. The MoMA. Ai Weiwei Films. IDEO.org. Mighty Oak. So many RISD alums at Mighty Oak, and they've been closely working with us in the past years. And Newhouse, which is a startup company that started making sculptures that are inflatable, really incredible. Sproutel. So you can see there's like a wide assortment that we wanted to represent there. And there's even more depth as you dig into the many companies that are represented in Artworks. So we've talked about Artworks and we've talked about the engagement that we have with our employer directory. And that's a pretty significant lineup of companies and individuals that you could reach out to and organizations. But we also want to supplement those resources, which are kind of like exclusive resources for you, with the public resources, and looking for the resources that are best by major, really optimized for your industry, and explore creative companies and artists and discover targets for opportunities. And so you can learn more about this on the internships-jobs page off of our website. So if we go to that page, you can see that we've got like public job boards here organized by major. So if you're a sculptor, you can see what our advisors have found as the ideal job boards and internship boards for the sculpture major. We also have directories and organizations, and this can be quite useful where you're not necessarily looking for places that are posting jobs. You're just looking for amazing studios that you want to reach out to see if something's available. And I'll tell you that is really the key, is not just waiting for the jobs to get posted, but being more proactive to determine who are the places that you like and love and are passionate about, and reaching out to them. Even as first-year students, you may start to develop relationships with amazing companies that will pay off for you 2 years from now. You just never know. Anything that you put into this outreach and learning more about the places that are exciting to you will help to form what your career path is, what you want to get out of your next major. It's a really good idea. So going to a site like the International Sculpture Center, this is not necessarily a job board. This is to learn about the studios and the makers. Or Intersect Chicago. And as I mentioned, we have great resources for grants, residencies, and entrepreneurship. We're trying to make it easy for you to find funding and support for your creative projects. So grants and residencies, they vary, but they may often provide artists and designers with the following. Residencies can be great for giving you focused time, studio space, and equipment or resources. You may be able to get funding through grants that are associated with residencies, or just grants on their own to execute your creative projects. This is a great way to find resources for research and for travel. And we have gathered many resources that are available to you, but in particular, there are grants and funding that the Career Center manages that we've put in an easy place for you to access. And it's for funding for internships, residencies, research and travel. The way to get to that page is off of our website, RISD-managed-grants. And another fund that you may be interested in post-graduation is, oh no, sorry, not post-graduation, I jumped ahead, sorry. The Maharam Fellowship is one of the examples of a fund that's available to you. The Maharam is $5,000 for an unpaid summer internship in an organization where artists and designers are not typically found. So as an intern, you're solving problems and addressing social issues and sustainability. The host site must be a nonprofit or government organization. And this is available to currently enrolled sophomores and above, and graduate students. Skowhegan has a summer residency with a partnership with the Career Center. This is fully funded by the Career Center and Skowhegan, which is a $6,000 value. It includes residency fees, housing, studio space, and meals. It's for enrolled undergrad and graduate students. This year, unfortunately, it's on pause due to COVID, but it will return in the future, and it's an amazing opportunity. And then Fulbright, and that's where I jumped ahead. So with Fulbright, this is intended for post-graduation. It's a funded 9 to 12 month cross-cultural independent research project. Applicants design their own projects and develop host country affiliations. There are 140 different countries to choose from, and they each have their own requirements. Juniors and above, recent alumni up to 3 years after graduation, they can all apply through RISD, and you must be a US citizen. We have a Fulbright program advisor, Lisa Kramer, who's available to work with Fulbright applicants. And it's a very rigorous progress. It's very exciting. Getting through the Fulbright application, it's like you're invincible if you can get through that project, get through an application cycle. It's very challenging, but very rewarding, of course, if you get it. And then for entrepreneurship and innovation, we provide multiple opportunities for students to develop their entrepreneurial skills and interests. We have a program with Harvard Business School, which is a partnership with the Career Center. There's the crowdfunding RISD Kickstarter platform, and Art of Business and Mindshare are also available as resources. And so to get to this section on our site, you can go to the business freelance link. And we start with the basics at the top. Okay, sorry, that went a little fast. I'm gonna try to go back. Right, so the business freelance section has everything related to those previous topics that we had described with the Harvard Business School opportunity. And here with the business and freelance section, it will go over everything from contracts and legal concerns that you may have, or resources to look for to help you start your practice. So great resources available to you right now. And we also, there was mention of the Art of Business series, and that has been running consistently over the past 3 weeks, actually. And that's a great, I'm just gonna pull up the site so I can mention who is up next. So for the 4th, which is Thursday, we have the Art of Taxes, and that'll be starting at 7 p.m. And then the Art of Marketing on February 11th at 7 p.m. You should be seeing email from us regarding these topics, and that would be an amazing thing to take part in. So just to wrap up our lecture portion of the evening, these are the things that we've covered tonight. It's meeting with advisors as the Career Center that is our most important asset, and would love to see more of you after tonight's presentation. Attending career programs to gain key skills, building your professional materials, learning about alumni career paths, researching internships and other opportunities, and exploring grants, residencies, and entrepreneurial opportunities. You know, tonight was really just a quick overview of all of the things that we have to offer, and we would love to meet with you individually to share more of a personalized approach to the questions that you have. But we do have time for questions tonight. And so I'm gonna stop sharing, and I can open up questions, and I'll open it up to you, Susan.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. There were a couple of very good questions that I think probably apply broadly to a lot of students who are attending this evening. And I'll just paraphrase to cut to the chase on it. So one student asked a question about really how to begin. If you're a student, you know, a first-year student without a lot of experience, Where do you begin in terms of looking for opportunities? What opportunities are appropriate for you with limited experience? So I had some thoughts about that, which I'm happy to share. And Jason, please join me in responding to this. But um, I think it's really challenging, and we meet with first-year students all the time. And I think probably the best way to answer this question would be to say that when talking with students, I think the first thing that we would chat with you about is, where are your interests? What are the things that you think that you may be doing in the coming years at RISD? What department are you thinking about? What major are you thinking about? What kinds of summer jobs have you had, or volunteer activities, or where are your interests, and where are your where do your motivations come from? Where does your creativity come from? Why did you come to RISD even would be a question that I would ask a student who's trying to think about what to do in the coming summer, especially. So all the answer to those kinds of questions are important, because it helps, for one thing, for the career advising staff to get to know you a bit, and then also to really kind of respond with ideas and suggestions that are suited potentially in a great way for you, based on the resources that we know about, and the many students we've met with. So you can take advantage of our knowledge and our kind of understanding of where students go and what they do. So very specifically, kind of cut to the point here. When I'm talking with first year students, I often start brainstorming with them about the types of things they can do voluntarily. So just as an example of one kind of volunteer experience that could be very meaningful, there are professional conferences, and Jason alluded to this a little bit, but I'm thinking particularly of a professional conference for both art and design, that's really focused on digital media. And the conference is called SIGGRAPH, and it's basically an international conference. It's hosted here in the US. And they every year have kind of a position open for volunteers, and they encourage students to apply. The SIGGRAPH is hosted in different parts of the country. So, depending on where you are, it may or may not be close to you. But nonetheless, the conference is about a week long. And as a student volunteer, your compensation is minimal. There's not a lot of direct payment for your service. It's a volunteer position, but the trade-off is you get to attend a lot of the programs that they offer free of charge, and they're really high-level programs. So just to give you an example of one of them, there are some of the major commercial animation studios that participate at SIGGRAPH, and they do talks about their internship programs. They do talks about portfolios and what they look for in entry-level portfolios when students are applying for internships or entry-level positions. So there are those kinds of kind of big scale commercial conferences that look for student volunteers. And then there are much smaller arts organizations that also would welcome student volunteers during the summer months. So naturally, as I say this, these things are also potentially impacted by COVID in the coming months. But these are the types of things to begin to think about. Where do your interests lie, and what are the things that you could do in kind of a volunteer capacity? So that being said, the other thing that I've talked with students about is just developing their portfolio on their own time. After foundation year or EFS year, you really walk away with a very wide array of portfolio work, and probably some projects that you would like to go back to, I imagine. Projects that you think were sort of inspiration for the next thing that you didn't have time to develop because of just the academic calendar, the end of the year, the end of the class, and deadlines. So I would want to talk with you about what were those projects that really kind of gripped you and you wanted to take the next step further. And the summer between freshman or first year and sophomore year can be an opportunity to do that, to begin to think about your portfolio in kind of new terms of, as you're entering your department and thinking about an internship for after your sophomore year. And then lastly, the other thing that I talk with first year students about a lot actually is informational interviewing. So informational interview is a chance for you to talk to a practicing professional, be that a fine artist or a designer, about their day to day and just what it is that they do in their position, how they got to the position that they have, what are the types of things that they love about what they do, how has their job grown and changed over the course of time that they've been doing it? What's their recommendation for someone who's just getting started like yourself in pursuing, this as a potential career path? So it's really great to have those kinds of conversations, as Jason was mentioning, not only with alumni through the alumni network or through LinkedIn, but to be able to initiate those conversations in real time if you can, again, by visiting people where they are in their place of work, if it's possible, or at the very least through, this kind of remote experience, because that is another way to begin to build your network for one thing, but also just kind of get as much information as possible about the things that you think are of interest to you, so you can begin to sort of take that in and really understand it from another perspective and begin to kind of interpret that in your own way for how this may play forward in the coming weeks and months in your own future. So I'm sure Jason's got some thoughts to add here, but those are the ways it strikes me right away. Like there are a lot of things that you can do, but we getting to know who you are and helping to guide you through understanding more particularly is really important.
Yeah, I thank you, Susan. I think we go through all of this content, and there's so many resources available to all of you, and there's a good chance that half of the things that we talked about will be really important to you as you progress during your time at RISD. But as a first year student, just to elaborate or to elaborate on something that Susan had mentioned, the portfolio, that is something that you can start working on. Like things like your resume, those aren't really going to come into play yet. Even though it is something that's important, it's not important yet. That'll be important when you're applying to jobs. Getting into a habit of documenting and posting your work and recording some information about it, those are amazing skills to develop that will put you into really good shape when you're then curating your portfolio in your sophomore year or junior year, getting ready for an opportunity. So I do really agree that like portfolio is a great place to put your energy. And the other thing, and we alluded to this tonight, is to just be inspired. You're in first year. Be inspired, and if you love a film that you just saw, or you love a promotion that you saw in an advertising campaign, or you love a piece that was done that you saw in an exhibit, go through the trouble of figuring out what's the origin of that and learn about the person or the company or the studio that's responsible for it and notice them and start to follow them. These are the things that are going to put you into really good shape when you get to the point where you're going to start to make applications. Because the things that we talked about with the technical side of like networking and resume writing and all of those sorts of things, it's a pretty straightforward process that we'll be walking you through, and it's not that big of a deal. Focus on being inspired and experimental as your first year is.
So I wanted to add to something Jason said and a thought from earlier, and that is, I would never, ever, ever dismiss the value of kind of the any job that I think a lot of students have. And what I mean by that are the jobs that you may have had in high school, whether they were paid or volunteer experiences, but especially paid experiences where it might have been a retail job or another kind of service job, because those experiences of working with other people, no matter what the circumstances, doesn't have to be art and design related, but the experiences you have of reporting to a supervisor, of demonstrating a work ethic, of holding some level of responsibility, are all really, really important indicators to a future next employer that may be hiring you for an internship for an art or design based position, that you are not entirely new to what it means to work. And I think that I just want to underscore the importance of those jobs too. And I think students often kind of minimize the importance because they're not really related to the thing that they think they might want to pursue, creatively speaking. But it will say a great deal about your maturity, about your just your kind of determination to support yourself a bit, to contribute to maybe the resources that you had to come to RISD. So you know, as we're talking about internships and future jobs, I just want to remind you all that other jobs count too, and they are important details or credentials on your resume. And that is not something that we would ever overlook or minimize the importance of. There's another question, Jason, and I'll just go ahead and read it. And I think you've answered it, but just to say, it could be on the mind of others as well. So the student said, the more I come to these meetings, I realize how much I don't know. What would you suggest to begin to flesh out a pathway for a fine artist who is proficient in the commercial arts world? And then, the student is asking, are drop-in 15-minute appointments enough to begin to do that? And just from kind of a purely logistical standpoint, I wanted to just reiterate what Jason said, that this is a very big question, a really I think important question to ask, and 15 minutes is probably not quite enough time to even like scratch the surface on it, maybe a little bit, but I would really encourage a 30 or 60-minute appointment meeting with one of our staff, career advising staff, to really dig into that question with you, because it is a lot to kind of get your head around, and there's so many possible pathways for a fine artist. So that being said, as I have before, we'd want to get to know you a little bit and understand what your motivations are and your interests, to be able to really give you point of view and brainstorm, really brainstorm with you about what makes sense for you. Do you have any other thoughts on that, Jason?
Um, my only thought is that sometimes I've worked with students that will come in for 30 minutes and will cover a mountain of information,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll go off and ponder and work on some things and come back in 2 weeks. So it's also, like, we have the flexibility where you can come for an hour. You can also come once per week. And if you are really, if you really need help and more than once a week, we can make exceptions and override that rule. So, sometimes people will just take off a digestible chunk, and we'll work on that together in an advising appointment, and then they'll go off and work on it. So the main thing is, like, if you come in the door and you are open with us, any of us can help to come up with a strategy that's going to work with your busy life at school and
Mm-hmm.
things that you're trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm. This might be a good, your comment might be a good segue to the next question. So this is from a grad student. For a grad student, internships, regardless of how attractive they are, regardless of how attractive it is, aren't really accessible because our schedules are somewhat locked in. Visiting artists aren't really helpful when we're just meeting with a lecturer. How can I capitalize my stay at RISD to profit from it for my future?
Well, and I guess the question for me is, like, if it's a grad student that's only here for 1 year,
Mm-hmm.
that may be the case. And winter session, which I realize we're in winter. Well, we just had winter session, and the timing is really like for. So if someone was to do an internship, the popular times for internships are typically in the summer. And, I appreciate the point about, like, how to take advantage of these opportunities or visiting artists. If there's anything that I hope that you take away from tonight, it's that there are ways to reach out to these folks after the fact and to continue that conversation. And we could show you how to achieve that. And in the case of graduate students, many times their internships, which an undergrad might be looking for, are just jobs that they're getting after graduation. And the Career Center provides support to all graduates for the rest of your career. So those are the things that come to mind to address the question.
Yeah, another thought that I had with respect to this, especially for graduate students, first-year grad students in particular, or second or third, is that we do have particular programs that are for juniors, seniors, and graduate students. So first-year students can't participate just yet because they're really specific to portfolio and having portfolio work to be able to show. So this is especially relevant because we have one of those events coming up in March, which is called the Design Portfolio Review, as well as a Fine Art Portfolio Review, which happens in April. So just to say, we didn't dig deeply into those programs in this presentation because, as a first year undergrad, they're not programs that one can participate in, but as a grad student, you certainly could. And that would give you exposure potentially to companies, firms, studios, other kinds of organizations and individuals at them. That would be, in my view, like one of the best ways to maximize your RISD experience through those in-person connections that can be made, which can be leveraged for future opportunities. So that, again, goes both ways for the Design Portfolio Review, which will happen in March, and the Fine Art Review that'll happen in April. So for any grad students who are participating this evening, I would just encourage you to take a look at the careercenter.risd.edu site and look at career programs, and you'll find the links to the Design Review and the Fine Art Portfolio Review in that, that section of the website to learn more about them. We'll also be emailing you details about those programs in the coming weeks as we get closer to them. So I hope that helps to respond to the question. Yes. Another question, Jason, I don't know if you're seeing this. Are there many internships available for illustration sophomores? And what kind of opportunities are available for freshmen looking to gain experience? So maybe starting with internships for sophomores in illustration, and then we'll get to the next question about the freshmen looking for experience.
So for the first question about internships available for illustration sophomores, the simple answer is yes, there are many internships available. The trick is though, sometimes you may be looking on a job board and you may find some internships, but then there are other internships, and this may sound a bit crazy, but some internships are just not announced. You like a company that you're interested in, they don't have something posted, but by reaching out to them and inquiring about internship opportunities, that might be the way that you get a foot in the door. Some companies don't need to post internships because they know that people will come to them and try to get an internship. So if you were to come in for an appointment, what we would do is we would look at all of the internships that are available on job boards, but then, and maybe even more importantly, would look at the companies that you're really excited about, that have, maybe they've got some alumni that work at the studio, or maybe they're producing work that you love. And we'll look at them on LinkedIn to see who works there and to try to make a connection. So those are the ways that we would go after this. Of course, it's always uncertain because there's no way of knowing how many internships are available. It's just, we will give you the best strategies and tools to find them wherever they are.
Mm-hmm. And I think the next question about what kind of opportunities are available for freshmen looking to gain experience, in some ways is related to some of the responses we've been sharing, which is to say that we would, I think for me, it's hard to answer this question without knowing what kind of, more kind of about what the interests are and what, where you're kind of coming from on the question. And I want to kind of circle back to like generally what kind of opportunities are there for freshmen. I think it depends a lot on the skills that you have currently and how those can parlay into the types of things that are either posted or that you would like to do, that you would pursue the way Jason just described, where you're reaching out directly and kind of encouraging people to consider hiring you based on the skills and the interests you have that can support the work that they do. So I realize that's a kind of abstract or general answer, but I think that's, the way I can respond in a general way to a question that needs more specificity to be able to answer more particularly.
I think I'd also like just mention, which kind of occurred to me from both of these questions, which is that there are those opportunities that have a minimum experience requirement. So if you're wondering, like, are there jobs that say they'll only work with juniors and seniors? Well, yes, there are those instances where that does happen, but that should not deter you. We should be determined. We should show our best work in our portfolio, and we should see about getting a position, whether you're a sophomore or even as a freshman, you may be able to get that kind of experience.
So hopefully that helps to respond to the question. There's another question in the chat, which is, for a professional point of view, not popular, should we focus on social media presence or a well-maintained website to present our brand and portfolio? Should copyright play into our decision? Yeah, so do you want to take that, Jason? You want me to respond?
Yeah, sure. Well, we've talked about how it's important to start documenting your work as a freshman and having your portfolio developed. However, we are seeing such great things coming out of social media presence for artists, for art students and design students that choose to be deliberate about showing their work on their Instagram feed, for instance. That can be a really excellent way of promoting yourself and getting attention from others. So it can be very effective. Of course, like if we're talking about an Instagram, that isn't something that you could call a portfolio per se, because a portfolio is curated. It's like, here's a body of work and this is intentional. This is my best work to date. As a first year student, I would not worry about getting into curating your portfolio that much. I think that it's more important to just be experimental and to document your work. With Instagram, it is a time, it's a chronological reveal of your process and of your inspirations and your work. So I think that it can be really effective. Yeah, and I think that for some people, it's all based on how you manage your time. Like, some people can keep social media in its place. They can do social media moderately and engage with other followers and get action back to them. And then they can put it away and focus on their work. Myself, I probably would have been locking my phone in my locker as an art student because I'm easily distracted. So that wouldn't work so well for me. So everybody has to take their own approach. I hope that that's helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the other thing that I would say about portfolio too is that, well, for one thing, I think there's not a single student I've ever talked to in the many years I've worked at RISD that ever thinks their portfolio is done. So it's a work in progress for sure. But at the same time, I think as you continue to grow and evolve at RISD within your major, there will be an expectation probably in your junior year, if not end of sophomore year, in your junior year, that your web presence is something that you are really developing seriously, because ultimately you do want to have a portfolio that can be shown that way. So it's a good thing to kind of have in mind and to begin to think about. But I think Jason's points are really well taken, that Instagram can be a terrific vehicle for sharing the documentation of work that you're doing right now. And depending again on kind of what your intentions are with the kinds of opportunities you might be seeking, there may be very particular types of work to post, especially because you're looking to have opportunities or experiences in a particular area. So I would just say, thoughtful curation of Instagram is also a good thing to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Did you see, Jason? There's another question as well, also
Yeah.
portfolio related. So, do you want to take that?
Sure. So this question is from Abby. And what do you do if you do not have a portfolio you are proud of, but also want to reach out to employers now? Do we reach out or fix the portfolio first? Well, this is also probably, it would be something to talk through, honestly. But I think that, like, to address some of the common considerations, I've noticed many times that some of the RISD students are really hard on themselves and their own work. The work that you have in your portfolio is evolving, and you are a first-year student. And that is something that an employer that like a seasoned employer will appreciate and account for. If you want to reach out, there's no reason not to. Think of it this way: as you're making updates and improvements to your portfolio, or you've got new work to show, these are great reasons to reach out and share some of the new work that you have to show for yourself. That's actually, like, we're getting into some territory of like professional grade, keeping in touch with your networking contacts. Like, this is a key excuse to reach out to people and keep them warmed up, so that, Abby, if you don't get an internship or a job that you want this summer, the good news is you've made contact with someone. You can keep in touch with them maybe once every other month with a couple of images that you've been working on. And then when you reach out sophomore summer, you're in even better shape. So, there's no guarantees in this process. Some people will not find a fit in your work, but that is not to say that your work isn't good on its own, and you will find a fit. So, you do the best that you can, and try to stay experimental right now in this first year. Like, just make work and document it. That's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to emphasize the point Jason made about sharing your work not in a kind of website or finished portfolio, but to have a sample page or pages of work that you've been developing and send that along as you can call it a sample portfolio. And that is the PDF of 2 or 3, 4 of these images that are beginning to constitute what will become, more of that work will become ultimately your portfolio website, possibly. So it's an evolving thing, and I think to the point you, Jason, made, and even in your own comments, like, work that you're not proud of is not, you don't have to include that. It can be, one image that's like the best work you've created, representative of the best work you've created in the last 5 months, and that would be, very acceptable. So I'll leave it at that. There's another question from Isabella. If we're not looking for work yet, but want to meet some companies and talk to them, how would we go about that? So I think, to an extent, Jason's addressed this a bit in talking about how we can use LinkedIn to help you to make an introduction, to get that conversation started. But I think you've got a thought, Jason.
No, please go ahead, Susan. Or I'll go, whatever.
No, you were clearly interested, so I wanted to make sure that you were able to respond.
I was going to put in a little plug for Internship Connect. So
there you go.
In the fall, we have this amazing event, Internship Connect, and this is not a portfolio review. It's, you bring your resume and you network with companies and you meet them. And companies are more than willing to be a part of this because they have faith in the RISD talent. So just by virtue of being at RISD, you don't have to sell yourself hard when you go to an event like Internship Connect. You're there to ask questions and to introduce yourself and to make contacts. So you can make your own kind of outreach by the way that we were talking about networking tonight, and that Susan was alluding to as well.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so happy you mentioned Internship Connect, Jason, because as I was mentioning earlier, from careercenter.risd.edu, under the events tab, you'll see a link to Internship Connect. And the beauty of it is that from the website, you can navigate to the companies that have participated over time. So you can see which companies were here in fall 2020. It was a remote event, but there were 60 or so companies that participated. And then of course you can look back at 2019 and 18 and so forth. So the reason I bring this up is because, the question is how would we introduce ourselves to a company that we were interested in? If you've been able to identify companies that attended Internship Connect, that's your lead in to the message that you might send to the person who is here attended Internship Connect on behalf of the company. Reach out to them on LinkedIn, and your message to them could begin, "Hi, Susan. I was excited to learn that you attended Internship Connect at RISD. I'm a freshman completing my first year and would love to connect with you." And begin to start some rapport through LinkedIn that way, with the hope of getting the response back from that individual from the company, who then connects with you. And then you can continue to ask some questions and make the kind of connection that you're thinking of. So again, this is like a very shorthand answer to I think, a great question, but I hope that gives you a little perspective on how you can use the resources of the Career Center for this purpose that you're asking about. So another question, if you're a grad student and haven't worked for a while because you owned your own business, how could I be lucrative to an employer compared to younger peers? So
yeah, so
good question.
I mean, just to speak in general terms, and everyone has their own story and their own assets and skills that they bring. But, as a grad student, you have experience. So I know that many undergrads are incredibly talented, but they haven't yet experienced the professional world. And from your perspective, where you did own your own business, that has given you the kinds of sensibilities that will enable you to think outside of just your single role. So I don't want to speculate on who you are or what you might be able to do, but I will just say that having been a manager myself of students and of interns and of new hires, for interns, I guess I would just say that, like, maybe they are getting used to showing up on time for work, or maybe they're getting used to using the file management structure that we have at our company. For a grad student who has that kind of experience, you just have you have like professional experience that comes to bear in ways that you may not realize.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say, to Jason's point, it's all about how you position your strengths. So that's one of the things that is a great conversation to have in an advising meeting, because I think it's through that, through that question. If I asked you, what do you think are your strengths? What are the things that you are really good at? What would your friends say you are really good at? What do you love to do? And where's the evidence that you are good at that in the work that you have done in the past, as your own, as you were a business owner or self-employed, and those would be the skill sets that I think would be huge assets. So again, it's really like looking at the individual and understanding, what do you bring that's uniquely different, and is your, I want to say, like your superpower that other people will not have. and really figure out how to position that on your resume and, potentially in portfolio in the future. So I hope
Great
that's
questions.
helpful. Yeah.
Great questions.
Yeah. So have we got them all?
Yeah, we have.
I
And
think we did.
everybody hung in there. I hope it isn't too late for everybody. And thank you for sticking with us and asking questions. It's been great. I think that we're good to go.
Yeah.
So
I must say we were, Jason and I live like a block away, and we're both in our own homes at the moment. And we were in a place, our town is known for the electricity and the power to go down during a storm. So naturally we were all set with like what would happen if things went awry, because we had no power, and luckily that didn't happen.
yeah,
So
exactly.
high five to you,
Yeah, that's
Jason, and
great.
to all of you again for hanging in and joining us this evening. And please, if you have questions, naturally we're happy to meet with you and chat with you, as we've said a number of times. But enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay warm, stay safe, and best of luck as you wrap up winter session and get ready for spring, which is really remarkably right around the corner. So
Yeah, thanks for coming, everybody. Come and see us. And hello to Ania. I see you out there. And to
take care, everybody.
bye, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.